Guys, I'm very pleased to announce a new partnership of ours with GamerSupps. Now, this is something the team and I have been carefully considering for a very long time. And guys, I'm so happy to finally share this with you, as GamerSupps offers top quality energy drinks for gaming. They have amazing flavors like Meta Manga, Blowhole Blast, and Emotional Damage. All their flavors have less than 1 calorie, no carbs, no sugar, and just 100 milligrams of caffeine per scoop. And did I mention they taste incredible? GamerSupps is literally the god roll of gamer supplementation. They dissolve perfectly, they're keto and diabetic friendly, and also come in non-caffeinated options, so no matter what your diet, GamerSupps is perfect for you. Now, going on right now, to spark our new partnership, GamerSupps is offering sample packs for free. That's right, you can actually order packs straight to your door with code Aztecross. All of this for free. No shipping, no tax. This is simply for you to try this out yourselves. All you have to do is visit GamerSupps website, click their sample pack, input your email, name, address, code Aztecross, and you're done. And if you happen to be by our stream, as you're going through these redemptions, your name will pop up showing that you actually got a sample on its way to you. Now, this exclusive deal is only available for the next 48 hours. And if you order now, the first 1,000 sample packs will include our glorious golden eggplant. Now, if you already know how amazing GamerSupps is, feel free to use code Aztecross on any other purchase, as this will give you 10% off on everything over on their site. Again, big shout out to GamerSupps for being our newest partner, and I can't wait to share more with you guys. So, Grandmaster Nightfalls are upon us. Today, we're going to be talking about builds as well as some exotics that are going to carry you this season in Grandmasters. Now, keep in mind, guys, despite parts of the game getting nerfed, a lot of people complaining about the difficulty in the raids being too easy. Let me just say this, an area that has not been touched is Grandmaster Nightfalls. GMs are going to be just as tough, if not tougher, this season. No lie, some of these Master Nightfalls gave my team and I a run for our money, which is why we're going to be bringing you these builds today, as well as certain exotics that you definitely want to have on you. Now, before we get into that, if you're just interested in the rewards for this season for Grandmaster Nightfalls, what adept weapons we have, the roles, as well as how to focus loot these things, because yes, this season, you'll be getting adept Nightfall ciphers, which you can focus for an adept weapon. If you're interested in that video, a link to that will be down below, as well as a pinned comment. With that being said, let's talk about exotics real quick that I want you to be looking out for this season that is going to carry you in Grandmasters. Number 1, Leviathan's Breath. Guys, we did a deep dive review of Leviathan's Breath, and I feel like only a small portion of you even saw that video. I had so many people come by the stream saying, Cross, you need to make sure you're proccing volatile rounds for Leviathan's Breath. Fellas, Leviathan's Breath has intrinsic volatile. And if you watch our deep dive reviews, which by the way, we have one for Revision 0 and for Leviathan's Breath, both of those exotics which I'm recommending today, you'll know the inner workings of these weapons. But since the launch of Lightfall, Leviathan's Breath now applies volatile on the perfect draw. Secondly, they increase damage versus champions by 30%. Now, there's also something else funky going on with Leviathan's Breath, that if your frame rate is higher than like 140 plus, sometimes your bow does double damage. Again, I haven't gone in there and like fully tested this out. Normally, I sit, at least in my gaming sessions, around 100 to 130 frames. But I will say this, Leviathan's Breath in master content almost deletes champions too fast, which is why you 100% need to be taking advantage of Bricks, which is an artifact mod, which gives you a chance of granting you and your teammates heavy ammo. Now, one thing I suggested from our deep dive review is you want to have the exotic catalyst for Leviathan's Breath. That makes a huge difference. You go from holding 10 rounds or 10 arrows to a whopping 15 arrows. And even in content that doesn't have Void Surge, Leviathan's Breath is still so good. It stuns unstoppable champions, it does a hefty amount of damage against champs, and simultaneously it also has great damage against bosses. We literally shred Lake of Shadows here, which by the way has turned out to be one of the most difficult Nightfalls this season. Now, a lot of people are going to be relying on Bricks from Beyond to grant themselves heavy ammo. But I will say this, guys, we were running into a scenario where we were just running out of heavy ammo. Now, I know there's ways to work around this. Maybe you can rock up special. Maybe you want to just have void weapons. But keep in mind, guys, in non-void surge environments, you're going to want to be taking advantage of those other surges, which will be either Solar Surge or Strand Surge. Strand Surge being the seasonal wide surge. So essentially, it's always going to be up, which is why I want to present to you Aeon Gauntlets. Guys, these gauntlets are still so good. And I know you have to play a support role, but with Sect of Insight, guys, after defeating champions, you are providing heavy ammo for your teammates. And when you defeat majors, you're providing special. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to rock this because they're like, yo, it's just not flashy enough. I want the DPS. And slotting on Aeon Gauntlets is just playing a support role. Well, this is where you're wrong, because this season, if you happen to be rocking Void 3.0, you have some fantastic fragments when combined with finishers, starting starting with Echo of Cessation. Finisher final blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. Also, defeating volatile targets creates void breaches. So literally running up into a group of enemies, guys, doing a finisher, boom, you just apply volatile to the surrounding enemies. So if you have a teammate that's using a weapon with Repulsor Brace, or even something like Collective Obligation, you're feeding them buffs based on volatile being applied. Now, a lot of people also say, Cross, it's a little too risky to go for the finish every time. But that's the beautiful thing about Echo of Obscurity, as well as Proximity Ward. Proximity Ward, which by the way took the place of Retroactive Pulse from last season, says that you gain a powerful overshield while performing your finisher. Now, overshield's got a buff in general inside of PvE. They're really, really good. And no lie, there are so many times whenever I go for the finish where I'm one shot, and Proximity Ward keeps me alive. Simultaneously, you also have Echo of Obscurity, where finisher final blows grant invisibility. So this means that if you need to go from target to target getting finishers off, that's no problem. That's easy, man. You've got all these different combinations of things working to keep you alive. Overshield, volatile, as well as invisibility, and to top everything off, you're providing heavy ammo for your teammates. So I don't want you to overlook Aeon gauntlets. And the beautiful thing about Aeons is that it's applicable to every class, considering it's an exotic on every class. All you have to do is just slot in Sect of Insight, and you're good. No lie, every single time I have a teammate that is rocking Aeons, dude, I drop the commendations on them every time. Rocking these gauntlets is a selfless act, so the least we can do is show appreciation. Now, since we're on the topic of finishers, I do want to show you a finisher build that I have been utilizing. Now, this is not Aeon gauntlets, but I wanted to lean into finishers a little more heavily, as well as support play, and that is on the Warlock class with Felwinter's Helm. No lie, guys, this has been such a good exotic. It comes with the perk Warlord's End, where power melee final blows create a burst of energy that weakens nearby targets, and finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increase the radius of this burst, as well as the length of this weakening effect. Now, guys, power melee kills and finishers apply a 30% debuff. That is a whopping amount. All of the debuffs, whether it's weaken nades, divinity, they all sit at 15%. The only ones that sit at 30% are Tractor Cannon and Tether. And then you have Felwinter, which literally says you can apply this debuff as many times as you want, as long as you are getting back-to-back finishers. Not only does it apply this debuff, but it also blinds. It has like this suppression effect that occurs when you go for the finisher. And depending on the enemy that you finish, this affects both the range and the duration. Now, things are broken up between minors, elites, and mini-bosses, but the finisher duration is really nice. For instance, the range when you actually finish a minor is 10 meters with a 10-second duration. Elite/majors is a 15-meter range with a 15-second duration. And then mini-bosses are a 20-meter radius with a 20-second duration. Guys, that's huge. And again, as all of this is going on, you're applying volatile with Echo Cessation. You're going invisible with Echo of Obscurity. You're getting that overshield with Proximity Ward. I'm also taking advantage of Echo Starvation. We're picking up a Void Breach, or an Orb of Power grants Devour. And Echo of Harvest, we're defeating weakened targets with precision final blows, creates an Orb of Power and a Void Breach. There is so much synergy happening here. I highly advise, guys, taking advantage of a finisher build with Void 3.0. It's just too good. And if you got some teammates with you that are doing half decent damage, dude, that 30% debuff is gonna speed through content. And again, I mentioned it a second ago with Aeon gauntlets, but if you have someone rocking Collective Obligation, it feeds off of those debuffs. So if the volatile and the weakened debuff, what that means is every single time Collective Obligation starts shooting into those enemies that are affected by those things, it's able to leech those debuffs, which substantially amplifies that weapon when it swaps firing modes. But keep in mind, Felwinters in this build is not something applicable just for Void Surge environments. You can easily take this in every single Nightfall this season. Now, speaking of builds that you could take into every single Nightfall, guys, suspending in Nightfalls are so good. Now, I know a lot of you are probably already thinking, Cross, I've got Osteo Striga, I've got Weavers, I've got Necrotic Grips, I'm on my Warlock, I don't need nothing else. Keep in mind though, guys, that requires a kill. Whereas our Titan Suspend build with Abeyant Leap doesn't require any of this. And the amount of girth that Puppeteer's Control puts out is unparalleled. Now, Puppeteer's Control spawns 2 additional projectiles with Dringer's Lash. Travels further. You also gain Woven Mail when suspending targets, which is great for survivability. And that's actually 10 seconds of Woven Mail. The beautiful thing about this is that anything and everything can get suspended. Tormentors, no problem. Champions, easy. The combination of Dringer's Lash and Abeyant Leap trivializes every Nightfall. Now, what you do want to make sure, guys, is that you're rocking Rally Barricade. That has a faster cooldown. I'm also rocking 2 double utility kickstart mods, which really really drops our cooldown for our class ability. We're also utilizing the Fragment Thread of Mind, where defeating suspended targets grant class ability energy. Combined with Thread of Continuity, where Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects applied to targets have increased duration. And Thread of Isolation, where landing rapid precision hits emits a severing burst from the target. Now I like this because every single time you suspend an enemy, it exposes that crit spot. Whether it's a Wyvern, Tormentors, or even Champions, they're sitting pretty much still, elevated above the ground for a long duration, allowing you to easily pop those precision shots. Now considering how often you're gonna have Woven Mail, Weapon Final Blows creates a tangle. And if you take that a step further, and if you're rocking a strand weapon, well, combine that with Untangler, where destroying a tangle with a strand weapon suspends targets damaged by the explosion. Threaded Blast, where that tangle explosion with a strand weapon creates an even larger and more damaging explosion. And Counterweave, where when you or a fire team member stuns or defeats a champion, you gain energy for your least charged strand ability. Are you seeing the synergy, guys? It's back-to-back constant suspension. You're like a school principal out here. You're suspended. You're suspended. No lie, guys. Really, this build is nuts. And what's so good about this one is, just like the other builds we previously mentioned, you can utilize this literally everywhere this season. When it comes to Drinker's Lash, especially when you combine it with Abeyant Leap, there doesn't seem to be a cap on how many enemies it can suspend at once. Take the Mars Heist Battleground Nightfall. Imagine how easy that intersection would be when you're having to defend your ghosts and all those ads are actually pouring in if you just suspended them constantly. And again, rock that with the strand weapon, whether it's Rufus. I'm actually using the sidearm from the raid, considering we have anti-barrier sidearm, and I know sidearms aren't necessarily the best, but Michael's Reverence actually does pretty good for me. These combinations are top notch. But Cross, can't I just rock StarClass and never worry about anything? Well, I guess you can, you uncultured swine. Jesus, fellas, get some creativity out here. We've made a ton of builds, which would do very well here, whether it's our Stacy's Curve build, our Wave Splitter build, hell, even our Polaris Lance build would do pretty well. But another exotic I want you to think about, if you have the ammo economy for it, is Two-Tailed Fox. Now, the reason why Two-Tailed Fox is so good is that with the exotic catalyst, you have 3 rockets all applying multiple effects: suppression, jolt, scorch. We even did damage testing with Two-Tailed Fox, and considering its ease of use, you're pretty much looking at the best damage a rocket can do in a single shot. But why I bring this up is, even in surge environments outside of Void, this rocket launcher is really good because of those effects. And similar to like Leviathan's Breath, it absolutely dunks on champions. The only issue I have is in situations where you are facing a Tormentor, you need a weapon that does crit damage, which is why Leviathan's Breath is so good. And if not Leviathan's Breath, if you are in a solar surge environment, Sleeper Simulant, guys, is still a great option. Now, other exotics that are top tier in the weapon department that I know a lot of my veteran players know about, but I know we have a ton of new players too. Wishender has intrinsic anti-barrier and does a tremendous amount of damage. A definite must-have. Arbalest is also a good one with intrinsic anti-barrier. You also have Revision 0, which is going to be getting a buff, and I mean a major buff. Check out our deep dive review on that one, but that won't happen until the mid-season patch, but still a great option. And then other exotics like Witherhoard, which is always going to be very good, especially on strikes like Glassway, because you can actually hit the boss through the shield and it continues to do damage over time. Now, speaking of damage over time, until Bungie fixes this is going to continue to be a fantastic source for applying damage over time and literally just hiding. And that is the combination of Osteo Striga and a Vorpal weapon. Essentially, guys, after you apply damage with Osteo, landing those precision shots, applying that damage over time, you swap to a weapon that has Vorpal, and then that's it. You can literally hide. And what this does is that it continues to do damage over time indefinitely, unless there's like an immunity phase or something, but it'll just keep doing that damage. Now, the reason why this is so good is because bosses like the Glassway boss that literally shreds you when you peek is super annoying, but other situations like overload champions that like to blink around too much, literally apply this poison, guys, swap to a Vorpal weapon and hide. This will kill that overload champion. It will continue to stun over and over. Is this a bug? Absolutely. Has Bungie mentioned anything about fixing this? No. So take advantage of it. So something to keep in mind, if you are rocking that Osteo Striga Warlock build, you might as well rock a Vorpal weapon in combination with it. Now, 2 other weapons I'm going to bring up that have been really good for me. I used one of them throughout the entire day 1 raid, and that is this Trace Rifle right here, Hollow Denial. Now, it's to no one's surprise that double special is pretty much the meta. There's a variety of reasons for this, but essentially it feeds into your heavy ammo. And the beautiful thing about Trace Rifles is that their ammo economy is really good, especially this season. The reason why I love Hollow Denial is you can roll lead from gold, and you can get this enhanced where every time you pick up heavy ammo, whether that's being provided to you from your teammates rocking Aeon gauntlets, or whether that's being procced from bricks from beyond, your granting yourself special ammo. Like, this literally saved me multiple times in the raid. You also have Repulsor Brace, where defeating a void debuff target grants an overshield that lasts for an improved duration, this being the enhanced version. Now, this is really good because you have so many ways to easily give yourself volatile rounds this season. Volatile Flow, or even if you're just leaning into it with Void 3.0. Guys, this has been my go-to Void Trace Rifle. And considering there are so many ways to deal with champions outside of just artifact mods, you've got Radiant, you've got Suppression, you've got Volatile, you've got Suspend, you've got so many things here in your arsenal from just your subclass that can allow you to deal with those champions. Now, the other trace rifle that has also been very good to me is Retraced Path. Checking your vaults to see if you have this, and I'm pretty sure you can still get it there from Dares of Eternity. This is a solar trace rifle. Now, in the past, I would say Subsistence with Incandescent all day long, but Shoot to Loot is getting a substantial buff here soon, where you can literally pick up orbs in addition to ammo. So you can imagine how good this would be for feeding all of your weapons. Combine that with the likes of Incandescent, but there's also a number of other options, whether it's One for All, Frenzy, Golden Tricorn. Throw all that together in a Solar Surge environment, and this is a fantastic trace rifle to bring with you. Number one, it's great for rocking double special with. Number two, it's not an exotic, freeing up your exotic slot to be utilized elsewhere. Now, a final exotic I want to leave you with is for my fellow hunters out there. You're probably already sitting here going, Cross, we don't feel included right now because literally every build seems to surround Warlocks and Titans. Hold up now. First up, Orpheus Rig on every single hunter that's rocking Tether is stupid good. It's always been good, and it will continue to be good. I wish I had more hunters rocking Orpheus Rig. I know you guys want to get flashier with your other exotics. I get it, but I'm just saying, 30% debuff, you constantly getting your supers back with Uncanny Arrows, literally some of the best support in the game. But I do want to bring up Assassin's Cowl, and not in the way that you think. I know you've been seeing some of the Arc melee builds out there, and don't get me wrong, I like those builds too. Hell, we've made a ton of them. I've been making builds about Assassin's Cowl and Liar's Handshake for the past 10 years. Disregard the math. But Assassin's Cowl, just on its own, is so good. You see, powered melee final blows grant invisibility and restore a portion of your health. And finishers in final blow against more powerful targets increases the duration of invisibility. Now, we've talked about finisher builds already a number of times, but considering this gives you invisibility intrinsically, what this means is you can completely disregard Echo of Obscurity as you're getting these strengths from Assassin's Cowl. Now, I still like people on Void when they're rocking Hunter, but the beautiful thing about Assassin's Cowl is you can rock this with any class. But where invisibility is so key is actually in Lake of Shadows. That moving the payload, dude, a single Invis Hunter can completely do this solo. You can literally move the payload from start to finish as long as you've got Invis, and you can detonate. You don't have to clear the ads. You can literally leave your two teammates clearing out ads and killing champions, and you, as the hunter going Invis, can completely progress that payload portion by yourself. I was overthinking the wheel here, guys. I was like, yo, in order to move the payload, we need 2 Ursa Furiosa Titans. We need to chain our supers back to back. We need to treat this like Overwatch. And don't get me wrong, you can still do those things. Or you can just sit an Invis Hunter in there and he can do all of it. And that's just based on his subclass. Now, I will say Graviton Forfeit is really, really good for this if you're looking to just chain invisibility with Void over and over. So specifically here for the payload section, our hunter had a much easier time with Graviton. But Assassin's Cowl in general, with its health regeneration, is really nice because you can bypass certain fragments and utilize those fragments elsewhere. Or I mean, if you want, you can keep rocking Arc and land some punches here and there. Completely up to you. So guys, that is our Grandmaster build video / exotic recommendation video. If you're wondering why there's not a single glaive on this list, it's because they're shite. But by all means, rock them if you want to. With that being said, there is a lot of things inside of our arsenal this season that deal with champions very effectively, whether that's a Riptide with Chill Clip or a number of our weapons that have intrinsic capabilities against champions. Despite Grandmasters being super difficult content, with the right builds, you'll be amazed how quickly you can submit some of the hardest content in the game. We'll continue to make individual guides for each one of these Grandmasters, especially the rework here to Lake of Shadows, as well as Arms Dealer. This week opens up with Proving Grounds, and again, if you want to check out our video going over Nightfall ciphers, the loot rotation, as well as random rolls for all of our Nightfall weapons, feel free to check out this video here. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.